Good evening, and it is evening, as you can perhaps tell from outside. Tonight I'm filming later in the day than usual. First chance I've had, to be brutally honest, so I've got my bedtime cocoa cooling down, and I'll nip upstairs as soon as it's done. Dropkick Murphys are today's entry into the James Saw Hall of Fame as one of the best 100 artistes of all time. It's only by good luck I ever came across the Dropkick Murphys, because they don't appear on radio, they don't get written about in the press very often. I just bumped into them one year when I used to go to the Leeds Festival. They were on the main stage mid-afternoon one day, and they were sold. I was sold, I was sold on them because they are an awesome live band. Dropkick Murphys is a perfect name for the band, as it brings up both images of the aggression in the music. They are at heart a punk band, but they're more than just pure raw punk. They've also got, as per the Murphy, an Irish influence. This is apparently just happy coincidence. It wasn't a cleverly constructed name. It's just there was a local guy near where they lived who was nicknamed Dropkick Murphy, and we just chose it for that reason. But the name suits them very well regardless. They come from Quincy, which is a satellite town of Boston, Massachusetts, in the USA, of course. And they formed in 1996, and originally they were just a hardcore street punk band. But the way they tell it is that because Boston is a very Irish town and they have Irish roots themselves, little bits of Irish music crept in accidentally to their first raw punk album. It was an accidental Irish influence. By the time of their third album, they decided to ramp up this Irish influence. They began to make a more conscious effort to bring in the Irish folk. And third album, they brought in new instrumentation. They brought in a bagpipe player. They brought in a mandolin player who could also play tin whistle. They nailed it, and they're very much like a speeded up Pogues, where the Dubliners meet the Sex Pistols, you could describe them as. Their third album was when they started to get a smidgen of recognition. That was the album where Sing Loud, Sing Proud. The third album was when they did a version of the Wild Rover, that famous Irish classic. And for Boston, which was a fight song for the Boston College, which they lived near to. They hit it big in the Boston area long before they made it big in the rest of America. They straight away got into the habit of doing gigs every St. Patrick's Day, and demand grew, and then they had to do St. Patrick's Day and the weekend, and eventually now they do, well, when COVID's not in the way, of course, they do a week of gigs every St. Patrick's Day in Boston. Even during COVID, we've done 2 St. Patrick's Day gigs, but they've just unfortunately had to be live streamed. I watched the first one. Excellent gig it was too. The first great gig of lockdown last year. I didn't watch this year's one for some reason. Another big moment for them was 2004, which is, I suppose, 8 years into their career, when they had a hit single with Tessie, which was a baseball song used by the Boston Red Sox, their famous local team, and they've always had a big sporting influence within the band. The Dropkick's version of Tessie appeared in the film Fever Pitch, and is apparently played at Fenway Park, home of the Boston Red Sox, every match day since. But possibly their best album still was the one they released in 2005, The Warrior's Code. That was the album they were touring when I saw them at Leeds Festival. It included the superb I'm Shipping Up to Boston, which featured prominently both in the Oscar-winning film The Departed and even a Simpsons spoof of that very same film called The Departed. It's still their best-selling song, albeit it only ever reached 101 in the US charts. Their 2007 album, Meanest of Times, debuted at number 20 in the US charts and 165 in the UK. We've not always got great taste in the UK. But it did include State of Massachusetts, which is an even better song than I'm Shipping Up to Boston. And it reached the giddy heights of 101 in the US charts. But it's kind of tune which has been used as incidental music quite often, in fact. It was a theme tune for a show on MTV, and Rolling Stone magazine in America declared it the 83rd best song of 2007. Their career trajectory, while never being astounding, has been upward. They've not sold loads, but they're on an upward path. Their 7th studio album reached number 6 in the USA, and it was perhaps helped because that was one of the times where they duetted with the mighty Bruce Springsteen, who guested on the track Peg of My Heart. They've done a couple of collaborations with Bruce since. In 2017, near disaster for my relationship with Dropkick Murphys, because their album 11 Short Stories of Pain and Glory, although having 10 decent songs, included the worst song in the world ever. They did a version of that horrible, horrible Liverpool FC anthem, You'll Never Walk Alone. I'm an Everton fan. We won tonight. First time in ages, but we won. You'll Never Walk Alone. Apparently, it was everywhere else in the world. It was a staple of their live shows. They didn't, when I saw them in Manchester in 2017, they didn't dare play it quite right too. But it still sold well. Number 8 album in the US, 68 in the UK. Their best performance here. They've got a new album ready now. They've had it ready for over a year now, but they were planning a release schedule for singles and tour dates when, of course, the world changed with COVID. But they were among the stars of COVID, as I've already alluded to. They've done a few full band concerts as live streams. One of them, the best of them, one was a secret venue, and the best of them was from Fenway Park, the home of Boston Red Sox. It was a bit strange because they were there were no spectators, so it was just them and this massive baseball diamond. And best of all, on a big screen for a couple of the songs, a special guest appeared, as if a god from heaven, a duet with Bruce Springsteen. It was another great concert. They've got a new album ready. Will it be any good? I'll be honest, first couple of singles I heard on Spotify were a bit naff. One in particular was almost comical. It was a very weird song about an anecdote they tell of when Mick Jones of The Clash stole dessert, met them and stole dessert from a fridge. Substandard song, I felt. But they've released a couple of belters since, so we await the new album, which will be coming out very soon. I won't put any final word. Of course, remember, accompanying all these talks will be a playlist, a curated playlist on Spotify, an hour of the Dropkick Murphys. I won't be putting any of the new stuff on the first version of the playlist, but if I still like the Queen of Newport County or whatever it is as much as I do now in 6 months, it might well make its way onto that playlist. Anyhow, Dropkick Murphys, great band on record, even better live. Catch them when you can. See you next week.